Okay, so today I want to talk about a topic you can probably tell from the title of the video. It's about how strong is Kid. Is he stronger than Luffy? Is he much weaker? Are they on the same level? Are they not? And I feel like every time we come up with this topic, people are either on the side that yes, he is as strong as Luffy, and no, he is weaker than Sanji and Zoro. And there's literally no real in between. Not many people are in between. Most people are on either side. And so just how strong is Kid? Now I personally believe that he is in some level of capacity comparable to Luffy. I'm not gonna say that he's stronger than Luffy, but I would say that he is in some level comparable to him. And yeah, so I'm gonna break this down real quick into like 3 different points, or 3 reasons why I think so. And first of all is just the trio which was shown. Now it is said it is said that when like the supernova were introduced into the story, they weren't really planned out, but yeah, still with what Oda has done, just looking back to that time where you had that whole showdown at the auction house with Luffy, Kid, and Law, like it was very clearly shown that these 3 are going to be rivals. These 3 are going to go at, like these 3 are going to lead kind of like the movement of the supernovas, going to be at the front of it. And I mean, of course, it's a bit different to how we probably imagined it at first, but I think that rivalry, that kind of on the same levelness still exists in some capacity even now. Even though it may not be completely strength-wise, but it still does exist, I believe so. And so, yeah, just as a first thing that I think that Kid is not considerably, Kid is slightly underrated, is that Kid has to somewhat be on the level of Law and Luffy. And so, yeah, by that, he has to be at least Law's strength, at the most around Luffy's strength. So yeah, that's the first point. Not too much detail there. It's just something to start off with. Second point is the whole going up against Yonkos, because in the story we have quite a number of characters who have been portrayed in a certain way, and it goes like this. A lot of characters who have explicitly kind of physically made a stand against the Yonkos seem to be characters which have become really prominent in the world right now, really strong in the world right now. So for example, Luffy is someone who, main character, he's made his stand against Yonkos, and he's grown considerably since then. You have someone like Blackbeard also did similar thing. He's now a Yonko. Crocodile had his whole thing with Whitebeard. Of course, like he went and did the whole Pluton thing, but Crocodile is still really overpowered, except for his weakness with water. Crocodile is still a really strong guy, really one of the stronger people in the world right now. You have Kaido, who always used to get in fights. I don't know if it actually said that Kaido went up against Yonko, but Kaido, just from his personality per se, is someone who's shown to like always get himself into fights, and right now Kaido is considered one of the strongest in the world, strongest creature in the world. So just looking at this style of writing, it's clear that everyone who makes like a physical stand, and I'm not talking about they're not gonna follow the Yonko. No, like these people are not afraid to go to a Yonko and fight. I'm not talking about the Basil Hawkins where when a Yonko finally shows up, they're gonna like hide away. No, I'm talking about when a Yonko shows up, they don't care, they're still going for it. So, and seeing that Kid has been written in a similar way, I see no reason for Kid not to become such a great pirate or so strong, and why Kid needs to fall behind. Just even without even seeing anything from Kid, just through this way of storytelling that Oda has gone through, I see no reason for Kid to really be that weak at all considering. And also the fact that he's been in the new world for how long now? Like 2 years with this attitude. So yeah, I just don't see any reason. Another thing is something that I do always think about, and it's just about the time skip. And a lot of people say that, a lot of people think of the time skip and they say, okay, time skip was a time where Straw Hats realized they weren't strong enough to go into the new world. They were going to get thrashed completely. And so, they had to take a break, had to get taught, had to become stronger, come back, go into the new world. But the time skip wasn't just for the Straw Hats. The time skip ended up being a training period for literally a lot of people in the world. On Punk Hazard, Law even says that, when Whitebeard ended an era, no one's really done anything since then. Marines have built up forces, but no one has made major moves. Look at Blackbeard. Blackbeard hasn't really made major moves. He's also just been building up his Devil Fruit army. No, not Devil Fruit army. Kaido built up a Devil Fruit army. But Blackbeard's been collecting Devil Fruits. He's been building an army, took over the Beehive, but no one's really been making major moves. And so I think that for a lot of the characters who are going to play a big role towards the end of the series, a lot of them have been building up their strength. So by that I mean the Yonkos, I mean people like Crocodile who are just on the side, I mean the Marines, and I mean the Worst Generation. So all these people have been getting stronger. Even it's implied, it's not explicitly said, but it's implied that these guys have been getting stronger, have made an effort. And not just getting stronger as in, okay, they just go into some fights. So obviously, they've made like a proper effort to get stronger. So just because like Straw Hats, like we saw them do it and we saw them have mentors, doesn't mean that like everyone else in the Worst Generation especially didn't try to make a big effort in becoming stronger. Okay? And yeah, so now the next part I want to get to, that was just like a subsection, but is about the whole story of what's been happening to Kid in the post time skip, and a bit in the time skip as well. So first we have like Roulette and on Whole Cake Island, when she mentioned how many of these guys kept coming, many guys from West Generation kept coming to Whole Cake Island, kept leaving like completely beaten and defeated. And then we have the story in Udon, and I forgot what's his name. The guy's the swamp fruit. It's gonna bug me. Anyway, he was talking about how Kid went to Big Mom's territory, lost his arm, left his tail between his legs, something like that. And then Kid came and then he told a different story. Now, just for this, I'm gonna take what Kid said as being true, simply because just from Kid's character, he doesn't seem like someone who would lie. He seems very straightforward. He seems straightforward very similarly to the way Luffy is very straightforward. Luffy wouldn't really lie and be like, okay, no, that's not what happened, but he seems very straightforward. And also considering that he'd been in the mine for a while now, and he'd been a prisoner, he'd been thrashed by Kaido, I don't think he has any reason to lie. So I'm going to take that as being true, that when he went to Whole Cake Island, he wounded or injured one of Big Mom's Sweet Commanders, which allowed him, and he wounded one of them, he did what he wanted, and he left. Okay? So those are the important things. And then he lost his arm before that to someone in Shanks' crew. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but the way I've interpreted it is that it sounds like he lost it not too long before he went to Big Mom's territory. So the time period there doesn't seem too long. This is really important. So it's important because if you think about it, essentially, if Kid, before facing Shanks' crew when he lost his arm, was on this level of strength, it means that after he lost his arm, just after, for a while, he went down. And if he fought whatever Sweet Commander he did when he was down here and still managed to wound them enough to do whatever he wanted to do. Now, personally, I think what he wanted to do in Big Mom's territory was get a copy of the rope poneglyph, which I think he probably has done. But that's a story for another day whenever Oda decides to show it. But yeah, I think that's what he did. But for him, at a weaker stage, to wound them in order to do whatever he wanted means that if he had both arms, he could have dealt with whatever Sweet Commander he was fighting. Because with one arm, he already wounded them enough to do whatever he wanted. And it's not like he can just wound them anyhow and then just get what he wanted. Of course, we still did context, but it seems like he could have actually won had he had two arms. Okay? So that already puts him on Sweet Commander level. Now, depending on which specific Sweet Commander he fought against, that will change things. I personally think it was Smoothie. Because that would just make sense right now, because saying he fought second, like back then he was second Yonko Commander level. He now trained, he's got a bit above that. He's near first Yonko Commander level, but not quite, and so that will play in with it. So I like to think it's Smoothie, but it's probably going to be someone like Cracker, which puts him a bit lower in that regard, but we don't know. It depends which Yonko Commander he fought. But yeah, at the very least, he's on fourth. He was on fourth back then. Because we also don't know when exactly this happened. So back then, he was at the very least on fourth. Okay? And now another thing to mention is that the whole thing with the bounty, in which people say that Kid has such a low bounty and he needs to somehow make this up. I think Kid already has a really big bounty. Should have a really big bounty and is that much of a threat. It's just with his stories and his adventures, it's more of the people who've been telling the story. Because, I mean, that's really what matters. That's how Luffy got to 1.5 billion. It's just who told the story, and that was big news. And if you think about it, both, when they went to Whole Cake Island, both Luffy and Kid did the same thing. They went there, they did what they wanted in Big Mom's territory, and they left. It's the same thing. They did the same thing, essentially. They went, did whatever they wanted, beat up some of her people, left. The only difference is that with Luffy had Big News Morgans there, and he likes to just add that spice onto any story. But Kid didn't. The only people there to tell the story were like Big Mom supporting it, and they're not going to tell Big News that they took a big fat L. They're just going to tell them that, oh yeah, we chased him out. You know, probably took one of his arms as well, you know, because no one's going to say otherwise, you know. So essentially, if the right people were there for Kid to tell the story, I feel like Kid's bounty would be higher, okay? And just looking at it since then, in terms of comparing Luffy and Kid, when we saw them in Udon, they were doing similar things. Like in terms of base form, they seemed very equal. Very, very equal. So that just tells me that Kid has, even with one arm, Kid has like brought himself back, just like the way Shanks brought himself back after losing his arm. Kid is on that rise again. So for me, Kid seems there's really no reason why Kid should be that far behind Luffy, because in terms of everything Kid has done, it seems very similar to what Luffy's done, except for some minor differences where he lost his arm or the wrong people telling the story. And yeah, I mean, what Oda has in store for Kid, we'll find out, because he could take it where Kid becomes a rival in the later part of the series, but he could also just really nerf and drop Kid, because you know what, he needs fewer. It's easier to end a story when you have fewer main characters who are there fighting at the end. But you know what, I guess we'll just have to find out and see. Anyway, it's the end of the video. Just had to get my thoughts out before we jumped into the raid on Onigashima. Really excited for the next chapter. So yeah, guys, please like, subscribe, share. You know, like if you have someone that you know really needs to see this video, really needs to hear the truth, please share the video, show them. So yeah, that's about it. See you guys in the next video.